trying to keep it real. Every time I start to do a video, somebody starts mowing their yard. You can probably hear the mower out there. So, this is another, let me turn my soft light on. I'm using a wireless microphone, that's why. Hear that lawnmower? So, this is another video in my series that I have started. Kind of clean my room up a little bit here. I have stuff all over the place. What I'd like to talk to you about today is if you're working for a company, let's say you're working for YouTube or Google, and I know this will work with them as well as it worked for the company that I work for. The company that I retired from, I took a entry-level position just to get in the door. I knew what my capabilities were, and I had taken some classes in the structured query language, SQL, and I knew that I could do a great job in the automated technology department doing reports for an engineering department, because I had noticed some reports that needed some improvement. And here's what I did. And if you're working for Google or YouTube and you happen to listen to this video, it'll work for you as well as it worked for me. And really, it wasn't an original idea. The company that I worked for, they had what they called a coffee klatch. And periodically, the CEO of the company would invite certain people to come in to have coffee. And we would go into this conference room, and usually they would invite 20 or 30 people. It wouldn't be the same people all the time. And so I went to this coffee klatch, and the CEO at that time was a fairly young guy. And this is what he said. He said, I don't know what job you have right now, but if you think you can improve your standings in the company and you're confident that you can do it, here's what you need to do. He said, you need to look around within the company, and when you find an individual who is extremely proficient at their job, you should observe that person. He said you need to approach them, because if you were just watching what they were doing, that wouldn't work. He said you need to approach that person, and here's what you need to say. You need to tell them what you think you can do, and you've been studying, say, like a computer language or a programming language, or you're studying how to create relational database management systems, or at that time it was Lotus 1-2-3, but using spreadsheets, and find the person in the company that is an absolute expert in that field. So after that meeting, I got to thinking, you know, that's a great idea. And I had been observing this one individual who I saw all of these people going to this person and asking questions. So that was a good indication to me that this person must be an expert in what they were doing, or all these people would not be going to their desk asking questions. So I saw this person in the hallway, and I said, "Excuse me," I said, "I would like to tell you something and ask you a question." And of course the person said, "Yes, what is it?" And I said, "I have been studying, and I think I can work myself into a higher position in this company, but I need someone as a mentor, and I'd like to adopt you as my mentor, and when I need to ask a question about what I'm trying to do, will you give me permission to approach you?" And I told them that before I approached them to get them to get me directed in the right direction, I would more or less have the whole thing scoped out until when I came to them, they wouldn't have to use a lot of their time, their valuable time, with me. And I said, "Would you do that?" And they said, "Well, I'd be happy to do that." So what I would do is I would study, and if I got to a position where I just couldn't figure it out on what to do or the direction to go, I would go to this person and they would set me on the right direction. They'd say, "Well, you need to study this, and in this company we do it this way, and that's the way you need to go, and you need to use this direction." I'm generalizing and just paraphrasing what they said, but the information they always gave me was excellent. So that's what I started to do. I don't know how long that went on, but one day this person came up to me and said, "Your supervisor has released you to come to work in our section." And this was in the automated technology department. And there's a desk right behind me, and we're going to give you that desk. And we know that you like doing reports. So what we want you to do is do reports. And if you think you have progressed to the point to where you can generate certain reports, that's what we want you to do. So, that was a gift to me, and I said, that is fantastic. So I moved out of a section, I moved into the section and had a desk right behind the person that I had asked to be my mentor. And before long, some of the other engineering sections, they were coming to me telling me that they needed a report that would present the data a certain way. This is what they wanted to look at. And I told them, okay, I believe I can do that for you. So I started producing reports for an engineering department. And when I did get between a rock and a hard place, I had my mentors sitting near me, and I would ask them what I needed to do. And within just a few minutes, they could have my questions answered and have me on the right track. So if you're working for a company, any large company, and you think you can move up, the best way to do that is to look around in that company, and when you find someone that you know is an expert in their field, approach them and ask them if you can adopt them as your mentor. And I would be surprised if you'd ever run into anyone that would say no. Because most of these people that are really experts, they really are willing to pass along information to someone that is willing to learn and produce. So that's what I did. And before long, everybody in the company was coming to me for reports. And with the SQL language, structured query language, most of the databases use the SQL in their report writer. In this case, we were using the Oracle software, and they even used the PL SQL, which is, they took SQL to the max. I don't know how it is now. This has been a long time since I worked in that. But you could do some amazing things with a computer code when you were writing a report. To give you an example, in SQL, Oracle had what they call SQL Plus, where you could go in and the only thing that you had when you went into SQL Plus is a place to write SQL code. And they had a function called a decoder. And in that decoder, if someone needed a report, say on, this is just going to be goofy stuff, but say they needed a report on tractors, but they didn't want anybody to see the report and know that tractors is what they were tracing. Well, you could use the decode function and you could change tractor in the code to come out gobbledygook. So all the reports would say gobbledygook, and the only person that knew the gobbledygook meant tractors was the person that you did the report for using SQL. So as far as a report writer, that was my bailiwick, and I became one of the top report writers with the Oracle database in the company, and it all came about because of this one person that was an absolute expert that I asked to be my mentor. And when I came into eventually they even transferred me from behind where this person was, and I went to work for one of the managers who was, I consider, a genius. And I got to work with him, and then my knowledge just started to explode, because he would give me jobs to do, and I knew if I got between a rock and a hard place, he would bail me out. But I made it my point to be able to do almost 80 or 90% of the report without asking him. And after a while, I didn't even need to use him. I could do it myself. So if you happen to be working for one of these big companies, never be afraid to approach some of the people in the company that you have recognized as top-notch and get them to be your mentor. And I guarantee you that 9 times out of 10, or maybe 10 times out of 10, when you ask one of these individuals to be your mentor, they will be thrilled to do it. And the positive part from the person that becomes your mentor, if you succeed in the company and people know that you are producing a product, they will always associate you with your mentor, which will increase the stock of your mentor. So try it, see if it works. Well, that's keeping it real. So long, everybody. See if I can cut this thing off.